need a pen for this class. Oh, hey. Welcome back. Welcome back. Come on in. I've got to find a pen. Just give me a sec. Perfect. I found a pen. So, how's your week been? Okay, nice. I'm glad to hear it's been good. So, welcome back to Astrology, Mythology, and Constellations. Today we're going to be covering Scorpio. So, the Scorpio birthday falls between October 23rd and November 22nd. Scorpios are known to be very intense creatures. At their best, Scorpios are confident and determined individuals who are full of surprises. They are clever and always tend to have something brewing in their minds. Scorpios also foster a lot of willpower and are incredibly dedicated and loyal to those people and things that they love. They are dynamic and deep and so beautifully emotional when they are harmonized. However, Scorpios, when they are at their worst, Scorpios tend to ramble and have a stubborn way of thinking that whatever they want matters more than anything else. They can sometimes be overly confident and, when left alone to run with their ideas, with no critical analysis or really forethought, this could really get them into trouble. constellation lined out, and a kind of gold embroidered, or I don't know, filigree, I'm not sure if that's the word for it, some kind of gold threading here, and spells out Scorpio, and a soft, velvety, blush, pink cover, and gold pages. And this is where you're going to be writing your sun, moon, and rising star sign. And okay, so I'll write it down for you. All I'm going to need to know from you is what is your birthday? Yeah, year 2. Okay. What city or hospital, what city, place were you born in? What was your location when you popped out of your mama? Okay. Okay, and the last thing that I'm going to need from you is what time were you born at? You're not sure? Okay, so you don't know what time you were born at, and we can't do this without the time, so instead I will just tell you mine. I'll show you how I did mine and what it looks like. Since it's just gonna be me, I will walk you through it. I can show you what mine is, and then next time you can either let me know what yours is, since you will then know how to do it, or we can figure it out together next time, okay? Sound cool? Great. So, my birthday. The location that I was born, and the time that I was born at. It was the morning, early in the morning. Okay, so you just enter those details into that calculator, and whabam, it comes up with your results. So, for example, my sun sign is Scorpio, my moon sign is Capricorn, and my rising sign is Scorpio. Once again, a very intense lady if you get me on a interesting day. So, it's as easy as that. You just put it into that calculator, your 3 signs for you, and a whole description and little outlining of what you might be like, or things that you might struggle with because you fall into these categories of zodiac, horoscope, signs, constellations, houses, whatever we want to call it. So, moving on to the constellations and astronomy portion of our class. It is so exciting because not only did I find a bunch more info than usual, I found a lot more cultures as well, information from other cultures, and I thought that was so cool, and more chance for you to have a great nap. So, let's begin. So, in Western astronomy, Scorpius is Latin for scorpion, and was one of the 48 constellations found by the astronomer Ptolemy in the 2nd century. In modern times, it is one of the 88 recognized constellations, and it is the 29th biggest, I believe, out of those constellations. Just kidding, 33rd out of 88. So, in Usually, if someone has a basic understanding, they know who Orion is, or at least the three stars that look like a belt in the sky for Orion, known as Orion's belt. So, the two stories I have for you today, one comes to us from Africa, and the other one comes to us from, I believe it's Polynesia, or Oceania. I believe it's Oceania. So let's start with the Pharaoh's Soul, a tale from ancient Egypt about Orion. So, across the world, stargazers marvel at the figure of Orion striding across the heavens. In ancient Greece, he is a mythical hunter. In ancient Egypt, he is the great god Osiris, ruler of death and the afterlife. Many suns and moons ago, mighty Geb, god of earth, and Nut, goddess of sky, had 4 children: Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys. Osiris the eldest was good and wise, and for these and other qualities he was named Pharaoh of Egypt by the all-powerful sun god Ra. For many years Osiris ruled well and fairly with beautiful Isis as his queen, setting order above chaos and justice above lawlessness. He taught people to farm successfully and to live peacefully, and his deeds earned him the love and respect of the gods and all of those who lived on earth. But not everyone fell under Osiris' spell. His brother Set, god of storms and chaos, was deeply jealous of the pharaoh's popularity and power, and hatched a devious plot to kill him. Look at this picture. Isn't that gorgeous? A devious plot to kill him. Set knew that he had to be clever about it. Osiris was nobody's fool. So he decided to hold a feast in Osiris' honor to thank him for all that he had done for his people and his land. After all, scheming Set told anyone who would listen, he never stops working and doing good. Now it's his turn to reap the rewards. The feast was one of the most lavish ever held in Egypt. Only the finest food and drink were served. There was singing, dancing, and games, and from his seat of honor Osiris smiled broadly as he surveyed the scene. After everyone had eaten and drank their fill, Set clapped his hands loudly for order, and his servants brought out an exquisite chest made from sweet-smelling cedar wood, intricately carved and decorated with bright colors and sheets of gold as if by the gods. "I have one final game for you," Set announced to the guests, smiling sweetly. "I will give this chest to whoever can fit inside." One by one, the courtiers climbed into the chest, each hoping to claim it as their own. None of them fit, of course. Next, Osiris decided to try. The chest fit him perfectly. After all, it had been made secretly and especially for him. As soon as Osiris was inside, Set gave a triumphant roar, slammed down the lid, and sealed it shut. Then he had it thrown into the river Nile, where it drifted on the current all the way to the Mediterranean Sea, until it was finally cast ashore. And while all of Egypt mourned the loss of their faithful king, Set claimed the throne for himself. Grieving Isis wept bitter tears for her husband and the fate he had suffered at Set's hands. For a full year she roamed the land far and wide, searching for his resting place. One day, as hope had almost faded, she came across a tamarisk tree on a distant river bank that had grown up gnarled and mighty. she had gathered up all the pieces of Osiris's body. With the help of Anubis, jackal-headed god of embalming, she began the painstaking task of putting the pieces back together. Night after night they worked until the body was whole again. They wrapped it in white linen strips as a mummy, as was fitting for a pharaoh. Then Isis performed her greatest magic, flapping her shimmering wings. She found breath into her husband's body and brought him back to life. But no spirit that has once passed to the land of the dead can remain in the land of the living, and so the sun god Ra decreed that Osiris should be the lord of the afterlife. With this, Osiris became the lord of the dead and the god of rebirth, proof that new life can come even after death. And his soul passed into the heavens, where it was taken up among the stars. His starry belt aligned, some say, with the great pyramids of Giza, resting place of pharaohs. Okay, that was the story from Egypt, and did you like it? I don't know much about Egyptian mythology, but I did know a little bit about the gods, and I really liked that story. I'm glad you did too. Okay, so, do you think you have it in you for one more story? It's a short one, I promise. Excuse me. Okay, great. This one comes to us from Oceania. It's a Tongan tale called Hina and the Shark. And before I start, I want to show you this picture because I think, once again, this book has beautiful illustrations. And we are going to be reading about this lady, Hina and the Shark. Hina or Hina? I'm not sure. So, Orion spelled Hina and the Shark, a Tongan tale. himself allowing Phaeton to drive the chariot. Unfortunately, once Phaeton found himself behind the reins, he panicked because the horses were much stronger than he thought they'd be, and he lost control. The horses ran rampant from high above the earth so that it grew cold. As the horses drove the chariot close to the celestial scorpion, it raised its sting, ready to strike. The horses panicked and instead moved closer to the earth, too close. Now the fiery wheels of the sun chariot burned all the vegetation, causing much of Africa to become a desert. Finally, Zeus stepped in and hurled one of his thunderbolts at the runaway chariot and Phaeton. As a result, Phaeton fell into the Eridanos River, and Helios took back the reins of his sun